The true enemies of your prostate is not a mysterious illness. It is a quiet presence on your dinner table, in your daily cup, and within your pantry. The most unsettling discovery is that most men believe these daily choices are harmless, or even a necessary part of a normal diet. Yet, with every meal and every sip, these seemingly innocent items fuel internal inflammation, hinder healthy circulation, and place an undue chronic burden on the prostate gland. My aim today is not to cause alarm, but to provide absolute clarity. We will expose the 3 most common, everyday foods that consistently work against your prostate health, challenging your urinary comfort, diminishing your confidence in intimate moments, and eroding your long-term vitality. The pattern, once recognized, becomes easy to break. And when you commit to breaking it, your body's potential for recovery is remarkable. Years of consultation with men over 50 revealed a curious paradox. They were diligent with checkups, supplements, and exercise, but their daily diet remained a blind spot, a continuous source of sabotage. They consistently asked, "Why do I wake up multiple times to urinate? Why is the flow so weak? Why the constant feeling of pressure? Why has my energy dropped, despite my efforts?" The solution, surprisingly often, was not found in another prescription, but in changing what they consumed, almost unconsciously, every day. This realization is the cornerstone of prostate vitality. Let's establish a vital reality. Your prostate is not an inevitable ticking time bomb. It is a small gland that holds enormous influence over your quality of life. When it is functioning optimally, you rarely give it a second thought. Urination is comfortable and efficient. Sleep is uninterrupted. The bladder feels empty. And confidence in intimate life is stable. But when this organ becomes chronically inflamed, congested, or enlarged, a common condition known as benign prostatic hyperplasia, the symptoms become unmistakable: weaker stream, sudden urgency, annoying dribbling, pelvic discomfort, and a pervasive feeling that something is wrong. Many men tragically attribute these changes simply to old age, accepting them as inevitable. However, extensive research confirms that lifestyle is the dominant factor determining how quickly and intensely these symptoms manifest. While factors like smoking, chronic stress, insufficient sleep, and excess body fat all play a role, the profound impact of daily nutrition cannot be overstated. Your food choices act as either fuel for the inflammatory fire or calming water that soothes the delicate prostatic tissue. To gain control, we must be brutally honest about the 3 everyday items that are the prostate's worst enemies. Understanding why they are harmful is the first step toward effective change. The first major dietary adversary is not a single product, but an entire category that has been deeply ingrained in many men's diets: highly processed and excessive consumption of red and processed meats. This includes the morning sausage, bacon strips, hot dogs, cold cuts, deli meats, high-fat burgers loaded with chemical additives, and overly charred cuts of steak. The cultural narrative often links substantial meat consumption with strength and vitality, but for men over 50, the effect is often the opposite: heightened inflammation, impaired circulation, and increased strain on the prostate and overall cardiovascular system. Consuming processed meats regularly is not merely about ingesting protein. You are simultaneously absorbing high concentrations of saturated fats, excessive salt, chemical additives, and carcinogenic compounds formed during intense cooking methods like smoking or high-heat grilling. The body must expend significant effort to process this toxic load. Over time, these components promote a state of low-grade chronic systemic inflammation and negatively affect the function of your blood vessels. Furthermore, this pattern contributes significantly to the accumulation of abdominal fat, which is not inert. It is hormonally active, producing inflammatory substances that circulate directly to the pelvic region where the prostate resides. This constant inflammatory environment makes the prostate tissue, which is essentially a sensitive sponge surrounded by vessels, and nerves more sensitive, irritated, and congested, leading to slower urine flow and feelings of pelvic heaviness. The critical issue with chronic overconsumption of processed and fatty red meats is the silent internal damage it causes. It's not the occasional steak. It's the daily bacon or the frequent processed meat sandwich that drives this problem. This pattern contributes to a body-wide state where arteries stiffen, circulation deteriorates, and the sensitive prostate tissue suffers from congestion and poor repair. This explains why many men experience increased heaviness in the pelvic area, slower urinary stream, and the annoying increase in nighttime bathroom visits. often wrongly attributing these symptoms solely to chronological aging. The solution does not demand immediate vegetarianism. It requires a strategic pivot. You can begin by implementing simple, sustainable changes. Reduce the frequency and portion size of red and processed meats immediately. Choose significantly leaner cuts when you do eat them. Replace at least half of your red meat meals with sources of high-quality protein rich in anti-inflammatory omega-3 fatty acids, such as salmon or sardines. When meat is consumed, always ensure your plate is balanced with an abundance of fiber-rich vegetables and colorful foods, less brown, more color. The most important step is to gradually eliminate highly processed meats, treating them as rare indulgences rather than everyday staples. This shift reduces the inflammatory signals your diet sends to your prostate and pelvic region. The second formidable adversary is familiar, yet deceptively harmful: sugary drinks and highly refined carbohydrates. This widespread enemy includes soft drinks with lunch, overly sweetened iced teas, healthy fruit juices stripped of fiber but loaded with sugar, afternoon energy drinks, and the daily accumulation of white breads, pastries, cookies, and sweets. The pervasive issue with these foods is that they launch a direct and aggressive attack on your metabolism and blood sugar regulation. A constant high intake of quick sugars and refined flour causes immediate and severe blood sugar spikes. The body desperately responds by releasing large amounts of insulin to normalize the glucose levels. Years of this repeated cycle lead to insulin resistance, a state where your cells become numb to insulin's signal. Insulin resistance is far more than just a risk factor for diabetes. It profoundly alters your entire hormonal and inflammatory landscape. It fuels systemic inflammation, encourages the buildup of stubborn abdominal fat, and critically unbalances sex hormones, all factors with known relevance to prostate health. When your metabolism is constantly struggling, tissues throughout your body, including the delicate prostate, become hypersensitive to inflammation, magnifying urinary symptoms. The metabolic disruption caused by enemy 2 extends directly to your circulatory system. Persistently high blood sugar levels actively damage the inner lining of your blood vessels. Over time, the arteries responsible for delivering blood to your pelvis, bladder, and prostate become less flexible, narrower, and significantly less efficient. Good circulation is paramount for tissue repair, proper prostate function, and maintaining healthy nerve signaling in the pelvic region. Compromised circulation not only worsens urinary symptoms but is also noticed by many men as a general decrease in vitality, lower energy levels, and changes in intimate confidence. Furthermore, excess sugar intake is a primary driver of central weight gain. The accumulation of extra fat, particularly around the abdomen, increases pressure on the pelvic floor muscles, alters posture, and exacerbates urinary urgency and frequency. This is why when men successfully achieve modest weight loss, especially abdominal fat, their urinary symptoms often show significant improvement. This is not a miracle cure. It is the fundamental physics of anatomy, pressure reduction, and restored metabolic physiology working harmoniously. The key to mitigating this damage lies in strategic awareness and simple substitution. To successfully shield your prostate from the metabolic havoc caused by sugar and refined carbs, start with radical self-awareness. Conduct an honest audit of what you drink daily. Many men overlook the hidden liquid calories in sweetened coffees, juices, and sodas. Step 1. Replace one sugary drink daily with unsweetened alternatives like plain water, sparkling water with lemon, or unsweetened herbal tea. If you need flavor, infuse water with cucumber, mint, or citrus slices. Step 2. Gradually switch refined carbohydrates, white rice, white bread, pastries, for whole grains and measured portions. Choose whole grain bread, opt for fresh fruit instead of processed desserts, and focus on progress, not immediate perfection. Every time you mitigate a sudden sugar spike, you reduce the inflammatory burden on your entire system, providing a calmer, safer environment for your hormones and blood vessels. Now, we introduce the third subtle but powerful enemy: the combination of high salt and ultra-processed convenience foods, especially consumed late in the evening. This category includes instant soups, excessive salty snacks, quick fast food runs, and frozen dinners that are heavily loaded with sodium and additives, the staples of the "I'm tired and don't feel like cooking" mentality. This pattern directly undermines prostate comfort, particularly the quality of your sleep. This third enemy poses a unique, direct threat to nocturnal urinary comfort. The first component is the excessive salt content. High sodium intake forces your body to retain extra water to maintain osmotic balance, which increases your overall fluid volume. If you consume a large salty dinner or snack late at night, your kidneys are compelled to excrete that extra fluid during your sleeping hours. The result: nocturnal polyuria, excessive nighttime urination. For a man dealing with an already sensitive or slightly enlarged prostate, this is a devastating combination. The bladder fills rapidly with excess volume, but the outflow is partially restricted. This vicious cycle destroys deep, restorative sleep, rapidly drains energy, and erodes overall vitality. Furthermore, ultra-processed convenience foods are typically low in crucial dietary fiber, but saturated with unhealthy fats and additives. This combination contributes to metabolic stress, inflammation, and critically, constipation. A low-fiber diet leads to harder, less frequent bowel movements. When stool accumulates in the rectum, it physically occupies space in the pelvis and can exert direct mechanical pressure on both the bladder and the prostate, significantly worsening urinary discomfort and frequency. This anatomical pressure, combined with the chemical load of high salt, makes the evening routine a critical time for intervention. To effectively protect yourself from the nocturnal sabotage of enemy 3, strategic changes to your evening routine are mandatory. First, wage war on salt. Taste food before adding extra salt. Read labels. The sheer volume of hidden sodium in packaged soups, sauces, and snacks is alarming. Prioritize simple meals prepared at home using fresh, whole ingredients, legumes, vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins, rather than relying on quick, processed packages. Second, be ruthless with evening timing. Aim to make your largest meal earlier in the day. Keep dinner lighter and significantly less salty. Crucially, reduce the amount of liquid you drink significantly 2 to 3 hours before your bedtime, especially if nighttime bathroom trips are already an issue. This does not mean dehydration, but careful timing. A calmer bladder at night directly translates to deeper, more restorative sleep, which in turn supports essential hormonal balance and long-term vitality. By understanding the synergistic effect of these 3 enemies: processed meats, sugary drinks, and salty convenience foods, you gain clarity. The difference between the man who struggles with symptoms and the man who finds relief is not destiny. It is the silent, accumulated effect of small, consistent decisions made on his plate every single day. Your prostate, bladder, blood vessels, and nerves are constantly reacting to the signals your diet provides. At this point, you must hear this clearly. You do not need to aim for rigid perfection, and you do not need to punish yourself for past habits. Your body is not asking for judgment. It is asking for help. You can choose to start with just one enemy. For instance, commit to cutting all sugary sodas and juices for the next 2 weeks. Observe your energy, sleep, and urinary response. Once that change is solid, move on to reducing processed meats. Every incremental change is a victory. Every time you reduce an inflammatory trigger, you give your prostate tissue space to heal and breathe. Remember your allies: antioxidant-rich foods like berries and colorful vegetables. Healthy fats from olive oil, nuts, and seeds for flexible blood vessels. Fiber-rich legumes for weight control and gut health, and cooked tomatoes for lycopene. The principle is simple: more real food, less ultra-processed food. More home cooking, fewer packages. More color, less beige. Furthermore, remember that intimate confidence is linked to this process. Stable energy, calm sleep, and improved circulation, all results of a cleaner diet, fundamentally restore your trust in your own body. The most powerful step is always the next one you take. Your prostate is not asking you to be perfect. It is asking you to be consistent. Start today with one simple decision to remove one enemy from your daily plate, and honor that choice for a week. So there you have it. The time for guessing games is over. We've unmasked the 3 biggest everyday enemies of your prostate: processed meats, sugary drinks, and those salty late-night snacks. These aren't some rare poisons. They're the silent saboteurs on your dinner plate, fueling the inflammation that steals your sleep, your energy, and your confidence. Think of your prostate health not as a separate issue, but as a direct indicator of your overall metabolic health. Your body isn't asking for a complicated diet. It's asking for one thing: consistency. It's time to realize that age isn't the enemy your daily habits are. Don't wait for another sleepless night or a stern warning from your doctor. The power to get back your comfort, control, and confidence begins with your very next meal. Which of these 3 enemies will you cut out starting today? Drop your decision in the comments below. If this video gave you the clarity you needed, smash that like button. Subscribe and hit the bell, because our next video reveals the 3 ultimate prostate ally foods that actively fight inflammation. You don't want to miss it.